Hello, How To Bob here, and I made this video to show you how to change the dryer belt on a GE coin-operated dryer. Now you can see I press the button and it starts, but it stops instantly, so that tells me something's wrong and I know it's the belt. First thing I'm going to do is unplug the dryer and remove the 4 screws on the top of the control panel. It's a little bit easier to get to from the back, and we're going to be using a inverted Torx bit or a security Torx. Now, once I remove all 4 of the screws, I can set the control panel on the top of the dryer, and then I'll go around to the front and remove the 2 screws here and here, again with the inverted Torx or security Torx bit. These are a little bit longer screws because they go into the top of the dryer. Now, once I get those 2 screws out, I want to go back up to the top of the dryer and remove the 5 screws holding the little spacer in here right behind the timer on top of the dryer. There's 2 on top, 1 in the back, 1 on each side, so a total of 5 screws holding this piece in. Once you get all 5 screws out, it should just slide right up. Remove that. Then next I'm going to open the locked compartment here, and you'll see a little nut down in here. It's kind of hard to see. You use a 7/16 socket, and I'm showing you this because it's really hard to see what's exactly is going on in here, but with the socket you can get a little turn on it and it'll loosen right up, but you have to remove this before you can continue on. And I'm going to remove the top of the dryer next, and you can see I have to unplug the plugs, and they're color coordinated, so it's very easy to put back together. And the connectors usually just pinch and then pull them apart. They're locked together. And I'll just pull all these connectors and apart, and then I'll set the wires off to the side. Then I can completely remove the top of the dryer and set it out of the way. Now the next thing I'm going to do is remove the 2 screws on the front inside here and here so that I can remove the front of the dryer. Now once I remove these 2 screws, the front of the dryer will lift right off, and I've got to watch the wires that are connected here. So what I'm going to do is just spin the front of the dryer around and out of the way. I don't need to disconnect those to get to the belt. And you can see here's the belt. It's just laying inside the cabinet of the dryer, and you can see where it's split right here. So that was obviously my problem. So I've got my new one here, and you can see it's got splines on the one side, flat on the other. So the splines are going to go towards the drum and around the pulley of the motor. So I want to start around the drum, and it'll twist around, so I'll be working it over and over just to make sure that there's no twists, and to make sure that the splines are going around the drum and the backside's going around the tensioner, which I'll show you that in just a moment here. Let me get this in place, and I'll get it around here the best I can, and I'll double check it before I get done. So I'm going to take a block of wood and hold the drum up just so I can get a little easier access. And let's take a look at what we got to do inside here. I've got a flashlight in here, and you can see the tensioner right here. It's spring loaded. The back of the belt's going to go around the tensioner, and then the front of the belt will go around the motor as well as around the drum. So with 2 hands you can reach around each side of the drum and feed the belt through, and the back of the belt's going to go right, let's see if I can get it around the tensioner here. Once I get that around there, I'll have to make sure, yeah, let me pull some tension on this, get that around the tensioner, and then the front is going to go around the motor, and I want to make sure it's not twisted in any way. And my belt goes in the second groove in the drum, the second one to the back. Now you can see how it's routed. You can kind of see the back lays in the tensioner, which is spring loaded, so that'll keep your belt tight. And you want to double check and make sure that it's in correctly and not twisted in any way. Go all the way around the belt and make sure that the flat part is facing out and the splines on the belt is facing the actual drum. Now I'm going to look at the top of my front washer, and you see the little slides right here and here. That's where the drum's going to lay on, and it's going to slide around those. They're little slick pieces of plastic, and the dryer will rotate around this. So I want to lift the drum up just a little bit to put it in, and you see I got to make sure they're in place, and the drum will rest on those 2 points. So make sure that those are in place, and if they're in bad shape, they may need to be replaced at this point, but you want to make sure that all these little slides, I'm going to call them, are in good shape and they're in place. There's a few more down here. Now to install the front, I want to make sure that the bottom is hooked into place, and then I will take the 2 screws that are holding the top of the front on, and I can tighten those down now. And once I get those tightened down, I want to spin the drum, looking at the belt and making sure the drum turns freely, just so there's no issues when I get the whole thing put back together. I'm going to bring the top over, set it on top, and then I can begin plugging in my wires, and they are color coded once again, so they will plug right in real easily. Get those all plugged in here nice and tight, make sure they're connected real well. Then I'll take the top and it slides in and under, and make sure it's down tight, and I can put the long bolt back in the locked compartment and use my 7/16 ratchet. You can see it's in place here, and I'll tighten that down using my ratchet. Next, I'm going to open the front door and replace the 2 screws that connect the front to the top, and I'm going to get them started by hand. Then I can use my screwdriver or drill driver, whichever you decide to use. Now it's time to replace the spacer that goes behind the coin box or the timer unit, and that just slides into place. And then I replace the 5 screws. There's 2 at the top here. I have 1 on the side here, 1 in the back, and then 1 on the side over here. Next, I'm going to replace the access panel since I'm finished inside here. And then I can replace my control panel on the front, and that clips in at the bottom. There's little slots here, and I want to lift it up just a little bit to hook it over the top, and then I can go around the back and replace the 4 screws along the top of the control panel. And that's all there is to replacing the belt on a GE coin operated dryer. I'm How To Bob. Thanks for watching.